Good afternoon, America. How's everybody doing today? Hopefully, all is well. You know who it is. It's the man of the hour, Big D. And welcome back to my channel. Hopefully, everybody's having a beautiful Wednesday, man. It's in the middle of the week. It's Hump Day, and for most of us, I'm in the West Coast, so it's early in the afternoon. It's about 3 o'clock. I just came from the gym, got my pump out, got my workout on. I had an opportunity to be on the live with Sea Dog. Make sure you tap into Sea Dog and the Cooper Show, man. Awesome channel right there. Good guy. And, have a lot of respect for him. And like I said earlier, we're on the channel. We had a good topic. And we're also with another comment out of Snoops 13, man, 1312. So shout out to them for having me, or shout out to Sea Dog for having me on his channel. But as you can see, guys, man, don't make sure you guys like, subscribe, man, share my channel if you guys, are digging it, and it's much appreciated. I'd like to thank, like I said, continuously my 500 subscribers and then some, man. We keep growing. We're the real ones. We keep it real. I know everybody likes to say it, they mention it, but hey, it is what it is, right? Only you can identify what you are and how you conduct yourself, as people, should I say? But it's a beautiful day. It's crazy, this morning started off a little, trippy. It was overcast right here. In some places, I guess it was raining. Looking at some other channels that keep locally in Southern California, whether it's a different county or so forth, and they said it was kind of raining this morning, so what a trip. But right now, these days, you just never know what you're going to get, right? It could be gloomy, it could be raining. I mean, who knows? You could live in the desert, you could be by the beach. It's just all the same shiz. But anyways, man, I wanted to talk about, being raised, right? And what I mean by that, being raised by a single parent. For most of us that have the privilege to have your mother and father, man, you guys consider blessed. And I know probably it wasn't the best relationship because as a daughter, you cling more to your father, and if you're a son, you cling along more to your mother. That's just the way it is. It's unfortunately that my past, didn't have any of that when it came to a father figure in my life. Actually, my mom was a single mom, and even that kind of relationship was kind of, up and down to this day, to tell you the truth. And as we are older, there's no animosity or anything like that. I think, mentally, me and my mom, went through a lot by, the passing of my father. So, it's like I said, it's very unfortunate that I was raised without a father, and it's not to to throw some wham 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 and all that stuff, because there's many of us, and that's why I'm talking about this. Being raised by a single parent, and I'm trying to relate, and I want us to understand. There's a lot of channels out there. They're trying to try to make you understand where their background comes from, or in other words, like me, there's a lot of us, or I want to say there's a lot of subscribers that have never been gang banged and so forth, never been busted in county jail and so forth. So, there's only a certain relationship that they could dig. But I know in real life, that's also a real life, it's another genre that people getting in their past prison and so forth. Like my wife, she has my wife's been busted too. So I've been busted, but my wife's been in prison. I haven't. But does it make it any better? No, it doesn't. But going back to what I'm saying, even that even plays a role in some parts in people's life when it comes to being a single parent. A lot of times, especially in the Chicano, lifestyle. I mean, me growing up, a lot of our, dads, were in prison or were incarcerated, and it left the, responsibility to, the moms. And even in that aspect, a lot of us were raised by our grandparents, to tell you the truth, because, sometimes in my situation, my mom, mentally was going through a lot due to the fact that, my father passed, and I can understand that. So, but at the same time, there was a lot of psychological, mental, damage was done to me, emotionally, socially, spiritually, mentally, and that's what the topic's all about. And if you're in that situation, if you grew up with a single parent, a single mom, man, or a single dad, and mom for whatever reason, because there's a lot of things that accumulate, the things that come up, and it's just life. Sometimes sickness and disease is a part of life, and in a reality, to tell you the truth. Accidents, car accidents, plane accidents, it's a part of life. And, a lot of us even didn't even have, parents, to tell you the truth, man. What about those who are in foster homes, that were born from a biological mother and a father, and decided, hey, for whatever reason, they gave their child to the system. And, I know a few people that were brought up in the system, and that's just even shadier because there was no coverage there. As a child, things can get real lonely, man, being a kid, man, it gets really lonely one time, and that's what I have. A lot of abandonment issues because my mom, for whatever reason, and I know what the reason was psychologically. Like I said, my father wasn't around. She had to deal with the fact that it was fresh. It was just brand new. Imagine raising a kid, knowing that the rest of your life that a man figure is not going to be around due to the fact because he's gone. So that implemented a lot. Psychologically. My mom being distraught, being away, not really being there for me in a sense where I needed her emotionally. I needed the security. Like I said, I have abandonment issues, man. And I'll keep it real. It just sometimes I feel like, hey, man, rejection and so forth. I feel, it's a scary situation when you're abandoned. I mean, think about it. For us who have the opportunities to raise our child, we get to hug them, we get to kiss them, we get to drop them off in school, you get to see their boyfriends or their girlfriends, and nothing can imagine, man, without being your child because it's the fruit of your loins, right? How they say it's the fruit of your loins. And so you feel every obligation and every responsibility in the good home or in the bad home. I mean, there's been a lot of bad home situation where, us as young children that we accumulated, there was a lot of violence between the mother and the father. And then everything else was reflected on you. You were mostly targeted because, it was an unstable household. Me growing up, like I said, I'm not knowing that I didn't have a father. So, I was able to wiggle and I was able to have opportunities to go and spend time with other people's families and how their households and so forth, because due to the fact my mom was too busy partying or, for the little time that I remember her working, she would come home and she wanted to be and she was trying to build a new relationship, to tell you the truth. So, that left me to be a bandit and also to be a loose cannon, to tell you the truth, man, because, I guess that was a good part of me growing up, knowing that, hey, I was raised by my grandparents. It was acceptable at an early age, from 5. So I can remember my early days from being from 5 years old, maybe even 4, climbing over a playpen. Who remembers a playpen? Shout out to the playpens up to this day, right? And I remember one day I was climbing, and maybe because my mom left and I was looking for my mom, I was looking for protection. I was looking for, the love and the security, the genuine, and that's what I was seeking, just as many people to this day, man. And to the day we get old and to the day we die, we're always going to be seeking those beautiful things that we need as human beings to as part of growing up, right? We have feelings, man, and we need to identify them. And it's unfortunate that some of us, like I said, we didn't encounter that emotional stability, that platform, that rock, that foundation. Everything's about a foundation, man. When you have a man and a woman, when they come together, I'm just talking about man and women. What I'm saying? I'm not talking about any other, group or so forth, man. This is just basically conducting a man and a woman, right? And we need that, we need stability, it builds a foundation. A father figure is very, important in a young child's life, just as much as a mother. One provides and the other one takes care. These days that we live in is keep it real in reality for most of us men that, you can hold down the household and you have the great jobs and went to school and you did all that. That's good. You were mentored good, you were taught good and you were properly, I still believe in those attributes. But since I was missing some kind of influence that kind of, held me back somewhat, like I'm down with the goal, I work and we work 9 to 5, we provide for the family and so forth. But as far as like, these are the things that I'm talking about that I miss, man, the good old man, hard work, what I'm saying? My dad, I didn't have a dad to teach me how to change, an oil change. I didn't have a father figure to teach me how to change, to teach me how to drive. I didn't have a father figure to teach me, who took me to school and was there for my, when it came to, parent conferences, when it came to the Christmas parties and, the 4th of July, you remember that as a child, man. You look out there, how many movies have you seen? Even movies discuss it where, you're waiting for your child, the child's waiting for, the security, waiting for the dad, waiting for the mom, because, that brings security, stability. It's a foundation. And even sometimes, even if the household was disrupted, right? Even if the household wasn't as clean as the way it was supposed to be, right? It was it was supposed to be, we come home and there was a lot of abuse for a lot of us, man, because I had a lot of friends. Most of my time after school, I didn't really have to come home because it's whether my mom was working or she was on a date, and I'll keep it as simple as I can. So, grandma was doing enough, with my other little cousins because, kind of my cousins were in the same household and they were kind of going through the same thing. As far as what I mean is that, my cousins, their father was in prison, or I had some other family members, there were too much time they were at work, or there's other ways and delegations how you're growing up. That's what I'm saying. So, but me going back to being raised by a single parent, and trying to relate to other people's, it was a lot different. Like I said, I didn't have a dad to teach me, to be a man. As far as like I said, putting projects together, fixing a door, doing an oil change, those are the important things, man. To fix plumbing system, the simple things. The simple things. And yes, I learned throughout the years, and thanks to YouTube, man, I learned how to do an oil change. So shout out to YouTube on that one. But see, this is what I'm talking about, man. The main thing about that, being raised by a single parent, you only got the aspect of a father figure or a mother figure. Why other people had the experience of having two figures in their life, man. And you know what it is. Two is always better than one. It doesn't make, it's not really hard to figure that out. But at the same time, you grow a lot of anger and a lot of animosity. You create your own division, right? You put a wall up so high that, man, it's unbreakable, so you think. And that's how, a lot of us, man, were raised, when it came to single parenting. For most of us, I think it's a lot more easier to be raised by a mother if your mother was there. You got to understand, my mother wasn't really there emotionally, physically, mentally. She was there spiritually. Throughout the later on the years, my mother was introduced to the Lord. And I think that's the best thing she could have did, to tell you the truth, man, because she planted that seed between me and God. And that's what I'm trying to say. But I wanted to be rebellious, and I wanted to be like the prodigal son, and I wanted to take off and experience my own. I wanted my riches, and I took off. I wanted to be disobedient. So, I got introduced to God. I got baptized, and I backslid, at a young age, So, thank God that God's married to the backslider, man. And no matter what the situation is, man, God's going to always be there with open doors, open arms, man. Once you get introduced to the things of God, man, he's always going to be there waiting. It's us who leave the things of God. So, but that's a little bit of a spiritual aspect. But going back to single parents, man. So I can't see myself, raising my daughter by myself, man. No matter, the discussions or the disagreements or the minimum arguments that we have with our, with our spouses, it's all acceptable if you could find a path of forgiveness, right? Because like I said, man, a lot of times, you could be here physically, but you're not there mentally. Right. So I remember, my wife coming in and I made a vow with my wife, because one thing I wanted to make sure is that if we were going to have a child, which we did, that me and her were going to raise her together. I didn't want to be divorced, and this ain't no backlash on anybody who's been divorced or those who just didn't work out. I'm talking about my experience, because sometimes relationships don't work out, and there's been a lot of times where I was going to I wanted to divorce my wife, because her upbringing was different. She had a beautiful mom. My mother-in-law, shout out to my mother-in-law, man. It's because of her too. God knows when to put in people, right, to fill in the gap, man. And like I said, even though I have a minimum time with my mom and so forth, she brought in my mother-in-law, man. And that was all because I got introduced to my wife, and I made a relationship of vows. We did our marriage, and then my mother-in-law came in, and she filled in that void. So, I love my mother-in-law, very much, man. Shout out to my mother-in-law, and I hope she sees this, and, that she, I pay, homage to her and give her her date, on this live right here, to tell you the truth, on this video. But like I said, reverting back to my mom, she did the best she can. I didn't really have no overseer over me at a young age. I knew kind of things were different and they were wrong when I started getting older, because like I said, man, you got a Christmas party, you got a Christmas presentation, you go out there singing, and I see everybody else, all my friends, man, and they all had their fathers and their mothers, their grandmas and so forth. And I was just like, damn, like, where's mine's at? I'm missing something. There's something missing in this picture. My dad's not around, okay, so that's how it started, then you start questioning, the years get older, and then sometimes your friends find out, right? Because, you live next door to your friends. I have a few friends who used to live next door to my grandma's house, and, and they'll tell you, they'll put you on blast first. See, at a young age, man, kids, they're honesty, man. Everybody says, man, if you want to know about a certain individual or a certain person, man, ask your kids, man, or ask the wife, because they'll drop a dime on you real quick, man, And the real, you have family members and friends, they'll be like, they conduct the outside, like, yeah, they know good of you, but if anybody knows you personally, who lives within your household, who stays with you almost basically 24 hours, 7 days a week, it's your kids and your spouse, man, to tell you the truth. So like I said, so when I say single parents, I can't even, delegate and even get into depths even that because, psychologically, mentally, physically, my mom wasn't really around. So it wasn't until I was 10 years old, and then or actually 8 or 9 years old, I started, people were being transparent with me and putting me down, and not putting me down as far as, hey, let me talk to you, not putting me down like psychologically or, making fun of me. So they sat me down, and they sat me down and explained, and I figured it out, like, hey, your dad died, and as I grew older, they started being, more, honest with me, to tell you the truth. And they said, hey, your dad's never going to come around because he passed away. And then too, I got the newspaper clipping and so forth, man. And then after I found out that, hey, my dad died, I knew what death was at a young age. It was handed to me, in a way where it just I didn't want it to even accept it. None of us as young kids want to accept that, hey, your parent died, and then to find out that your dad died of gang violence, and as you get older and you find out, I was just like, what, damn. So that made it more acceptable for me to say, hey, that was my path. I guess that's going to be my journey. My dad was a gang member, so I'm going to be a gang member. I don't like what my mom's telling me. She's not here right now. Excuse me. And then next thing you know, after like 10 years old, my mom got remarried to my stepdad. I had four other siblings, two half brothers, two half sisters, and then they got married. And I couldn't really dig that. I didn't, really have a good relationship with my stepfather at that young time. And now I was so used to within those 10 years of me just being me and my mom. And most of the time wasn't just me and my mom. Like I said, a lot of times my mom, left me with my godparents. I was, shout out to my godparents, my Uncle Ruben and, my Aunt Nancy. They played a big role when I was young. And then after you get older, you separate yourself, you start separating yourself, and, the emotions start coming in, right? You start accepting it. And then next thing you start hating life, or, I started hating life because I was missing something. I was missing a main piece in life, was about a father figure. And people realize they don't understand, man, the importance of a mother and a father. And it's crazy how the way these times are, they'll delegate it. They're throwing even more confusion than what it is right now. To tell you the truth, you'll have a mother and a mother, or a father. And that, I think that if I grew up like that, I don't even know what would take place, to tell the truth, because it wasn't like that for me. So I can't go and explain and talk about that kind of subject. And, I could give my opinion, but, that's neither here or neither there. Maybe that's another, video for another day. I'm just straight talking about it being raised by a single parent. And, and like I said, man, if anybody deserves a big shout out, man, if anybody deserves any kind of recognition, recognizing, certain individual, man, it's the single parents. It's the single mom. It's the single dads. The ones who, and I think, if we put up the stats, leave in your comments, man, check out the stats for me or whatever, man. I think there's more women who are raising up their kids single-handed than there is fathers doing that too. So, I don't know I don't even know if it varies. I don't know the stats to that, or the statistics, man, but, it's a sad thing to think of, and even to bring up, right, those kind of statistics. Well, let me see. Well, how many single mothers are out there? Oh, well, how many single fathers that are out there? And not every story is always the same. There's a lot of single parents out there because of the relationship, right? A lot of relationships didn't work out. So a lot of mothers, wants the fathers away. They don't want to bring around. And it has to do with a lot of stability too, because that's happened with me. What I'm saying? So I'm putting out my business out there. And but a bit, what I'm saying? So if you guys can't make sense of it, then then hey, just put one and one together, because it makes two. So but bringing up a child, knowing that your father is a gang member and so forth, man, and you have problems with the in-laws, with the baby's moms, and baby's, like, sorry, Miss Jackson, baby's moms, it's the reality, man. These people are speaking truth, man. So they figure they see your instability, and they jump on that, man, and say, hey, he's no good for you. It's a good way to the parents to tell their kids, like, hey, like, you guys did this already. He got you pregnant, and he's still gang banging. Oh, you should cut him loose. What I'm saying? He's never going to change. What I'm saying? He's never going to change. And people, we don't change on their time, man. We change on our time, and we change on God's time. If we're fortunate enough to even live past, a certain time, to tell you the truth. What I'm saying? And it was acceptable. I understand that. At that young time, I didn't really understand it. I thought it was all hate and division and separation. There was no acceptance, and it was just like, man, you guys accepted me at one moment, and all of a sudden, you guys want to kick me out. Why? Because I didn't know no better. I didn't know that sex has a lot of accountability and responsibilities. I thought it was just hey, you go, you make love. and you know, you go with your in-laws or you find your own place, you be a man. And so everybody was raised different, like I said, man, and no shame on anybody, you know what I'm saying? Just sometimes the relationships don't even work like that. So, you know, but you know, going out, you know, to the, you know, the single moms. I'm talking about, you know, single dads, and like I said, man, me growing up. Let me revert back, and before I get out of topic, you know, it was hard, man. It was hard for me to know that, hey, you know, I wasn't gonna have no father, no stability in that sense, and it kind of destroyed me, man. Because you know, I hear a lot of good things about my dad. You know, he had a job at that time, he had a car. You know, he was leaving the gang situation, you know, to the side, and he was very happy that you know, I was gonna, you know, I was there, man. He was happy to have a child, and that's what I needed. Because in all honesty, I didn't get that affection from my mother either. So I thought I was deluded, man. I thought I was watered down. I was like, man, should I even be here? And that's what made me, you know, be personally hard. But see, there, at the same time, man, and you know, I have a lot of acceptance and understanding. At that time, I didn't. I hated my mom. I resented my mom. I saw her be with a few gentlemen. I'm not trying to put her business out there. I'm just keeping it real. And you know, having her boyfriends come in, and you know, they're just partying, drinking, and I'm in the room. It's just like the movie Menace to Society, man. You know, and they're over there. I see my mom OD'd. You know, one day I was coming from school, man, and I was like, what the freak's going on here, man? You know what I'm saying? You know, you have your friends out there, and they're all looking when you're coming from school, and they see your mom screaming and yelling and cussing, and you know what I'm saying? It just wasn't. I was just like, this is what, you know, and how do you want me not to be rebellious? How do you want me not to have animosity or anger towards you when you're doing this to me? And when I come, it's embarrassing, right? You know, psychologically, I was already blocked out, man. My wall was already just building, 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 building. You know, and to the point where I was just like, no, screw you. I started running away. I started doing drugs. I started having sex with, you know, at a young age, because there was no limit. There was no rules with me, man. You know what I'm saying? At a young kid, you know, there was no rules back then. Why would there be rules now? Oh, because you got a man figure in there. I don't even know what a father is, because my father is gone. And all of a sudden, you know, a person comes into your life. Hey, I'm your dad. You know what I'm saying? I was like, dude, you know what I'm saying? So that's where, you know, all the ravish and all the BS came along with me and my stepdad, you know, because how many of us even came across, you have a stepmother or stepdad, man, that's another story then that I'll probably jump into too. But just, you know, coming down as a single mom, I'm just getting to that part. You know, my mom was a single parent until she was 10 years old. And it took me a long time to understand that, man. Like I said, I only remember my mom even taking me to parties, man. I don't even remember my mom even taking me to the zoo, to a movie, to anything like that, man. So how am I supposed to be psychologically stable? I wasn't. And there's a lot of us, you know what I mean, that, you know, that had our mothers and fathers, you know what I mean, and psychologically they went through a tough time too. You know, mother and father doing drugs, alcoholics, you know, there's a lot of violations in the house, but see, I wasn't in that, you know, I don't know that type of experience, you know. I just didn't have a father, man. You know, my mom was a single parent. So that's what the topic is, and we're talking, you know, about single parents, man. Because, like I said, most of the time, man, I you know, my family, you know, I don't really know my father's side of the family. I do now, you know, my uncle and you know, a lot of my cousins, so forth. But you know, the relationships there is still, you know, it's not, and it's never going to be 100, man. It's more like, you know, maybe 10% out of 90 that, you know, I interact with my uncle and any of my father's side of the family, and it's not their fault. It's not my fault either. It's just the way life, how, you know, the way it was dealt. You know, we have a different deck of cards from everybody. Everybody else has a different deck of cards, man. It's just the way life is. That's the way God made it. And I ain't saying that was God's intentions, because you know, whatever's in treasure, you know, whatever, there's treasures out of darkness, man. You know, that's what I consider myself, right? The old Victory Outreach, you know what I mean, saying, right? Treasures out of darkness. I like that, man. But like I said, man, and to my mom, you know, till I was 10 years old, and I started feeling and started knowing what a father figure was. And even that was hard for me, because then you know, I was just, like I said, I had a man come into my house, and now he's going to start telling me what to do. And then this and that, I got to wash dishes, you know, I got to make my bed, I got to get up and go to school, because he's going to work and he's trying to change his life and so forth. And, you know, one thing I could say about, you know, having a step parent, man, like I said, I'll go into that topic. And if anybody else goes over there in their channel and they talk about this and that, you know what I mean? Hey, shout out to them, man. But this is my experience, man. You know, I'm genuine and I'm unique, man. This, you know, before I go out there and party, you know what I mean, go on my lives and do this and do that, you know, this and that, and that's cool. It's all dandy and good. But you know, over here I keep on some real subjects and some real topics, man. You know, besides all the other BS that, you know, that other people are talking about, or you know, all the other good positive stuff that people talk about too. Okay, so, but my only way of relating, man, I want to deal with people that have the, man, you know what, D, you know, I didn't have a mother either. I didn't want to have a father either. Or how did you, you know what I mean, heal yourself, or where did you get your healing from? Or see, those are the kind of relationships that that I'm looking for. This is just people relating. You know what I mean? Those are the kind of subscriber and people that I want following me, because there's no BS behind it. It's transparency. It's real. You know what I'm saying? It's authentic, man. It's nothing fake about it. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I'm trying to say, man. Some of our father, like my father, was a gang member, and some of us were, we had the privilege to grow up with our dads, man, and maybe that wasn't good, and maybe it's all, gravy, it's all good and dandy, man, and that's good. But until we get older, we start realizing, man, their paths and their journey was, man. Like I started realizing what my mom was doing. I didn't really understand that when I was young, so it was easy to hate my mom. It was easy to judge my mom. It was easy to reject my mother, right? Because, at a young age, man, if you're not implementing the right things, and that's what I'm trying to say, today's society, man, you got teachers and you got the system they're trying to run your kids and so forth, but you got television, you got you got phones, and you miss once, every day, you should tell your son or your daughter, hey, I love you. You know what I'm saying? That makes a lot of difference, man. Every day you should be sizing up and making sure that your kids, your daughter, or your kids, if you have more, plural, making sure they're walking that right path, man, because in today's society, when they're going and raised, guess what? You know who they're going to blame? Like, most of the time, man, I blame my dad, because my dad was an alcoholic, I was an alcoholic. My mom was a player, I'm a player, right? We always throwing the blame game. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't do either of that. I couldn't blame my dad because my dad was already dead. I as far as that, I just, took his path, thinking that, hey, that was going to be part of my journey. I couldn't really blame my mom. When you get older, you can't blame your mom. And a lot of us do. At a young age, yeah, it's acceptable because you're young and you're fetching for it. You're searching for it. You're lurking for it, man. Who would say, man, that kids don't need that kind of embracement? Whoever says that, I don't need to embrace my kids. They'll learn on their own, man. That's a damn lie, man. You're supposed to tell your kids you love them, man. You're supposed to raise them in the right things, man. So when they get older, it doesn't mean that they're going to do it perfectly, man. You can tell your kids that all their young life, and they end up doing a murder and stuff like that, But wherever they go after that, they know that, hey, you know what? It was my fault because my parents didn't teach me that. You know what I mean? It was my path, man. My dad warned me about this. My mom told me about this, man. My dad, he argued about this. My mom, loved me and forgave me for this. That's just the way it is. And I think, two's better than one, like I was reverting back to, you know what I'm saying? But, for those single parents that are out there and doing their thing, mothers and fathers, man, big shout out to you guys, man, because it takes a lot. Now you got to play two roles. Imagine that. My mom had to play two roles. And that's when I said, and it was an acceptance when I came back. And one day, hey, get out of there. And I started reading my Bible, and I had good counseling with my primos, and one of my primos, and shout out to him, and he told me, hey, dog, you need to go forgive your mom. And I was like, man, I ain't gonna forgive her. Are you kidding me, man? She put me through this and put me through that, and then after, for some reason, I went to go pay homage to grandma. You know what I'm saying? You got to go with older people, man, because why? Because they have a lot of wisdom, man. They've been through it, man. My grandma was already like at 60s and the 60 years old. She was in the 60s. And I was just, she was still, vibing and grooving and dallying and she was doing her thing, you know what I'm saying? So I told my grandma, man, like, hey, this is where I'm at. This is what I'm going to do. I feel like I'm against the wall. My back's against the wall, man. My gang banging was already done. All the homies were, they're already older. They're already taking care of their family. They were busted. A lot of my homies were passed away. So, I felt like, damn, man, like, the damn, nail sticking out. So I was like, damn, what am I going to do for here? Like I said, I went to my cousin, and then, shout out to my cousin. Like I said, man, he has a lot of wisdom and knowledge. That's why I go out and I hang with them, man, despite what they do and all that, man. You'd be surprised, man. He's been my day one since day one. But, he's the one where, my mom used to leave me, to tell you the truth, man. Shout out to my how you go baptize, your kids, man. You have what do you call the godfather and the godmother, right? And I had two good ones too at that time. They did the best they can. My mom would go drop me off at my uncle's house, the one that baptized me and so forth. And then, man, me and my cousin, we rock and roll. He was a little older than me, and to this day, man, we hang and we groove, man. And that's where we hang out. And he has a lot of wisdom and knowledge, man. And he told me, go make peace with your mom, man. And I was just like, nah, I can't accept that. But see, it was the truth, and that was something that was it was hindering me from moving forward, accepting myself. And that's psychologically, and when you're raised by a single parent, that's what happens, because sometimes we don't want to forgive our mom. And if those who are fortunate and love, most of the time you hear good stories. I love my mom, man. Even she raised me without a dad and this and that. But then again, sometimes you have a little despite, and there's some things that are, there's no really, you're searching for some clarity too. But there's a lot of us that say, man, my mom. I know a lot of, sad to say, I know a lot of people will say, oh, my mom, man. I didn't have a dad, or my dad, walked out on my mom, the relationship, but my mom had me down. She was playing a father figure and a mother figure, which is not even true, because your moms can't do that, man. You know what I mean? Biologically, your mom, can't be, you do what your dad does. The strength's not there. The figure's not there. It's just it's just a respect. And that's what I'm saying. This is about single parents, man. And even though the moms were just strong. Moms. That's why God made women stronger. To tell you the truth, physically, yes, men have it, but mentally, women are there. Hey, I think a man, when he comes home, a man from a hard work, from a day's work, we want to come home and we want to just, rest our heads and, and our beautiful wives, on in their laps, and we get all the security and the censorship and the love and the compassion. It feels good. And women are looking for the man that, will be responsible to protect and to provide and so forth. So that's why both are needed, so the kid could understand, like, man, my parents love each other. And like I said, it wasn't my mom's fault, it was actually my father's fault for, picking his homies, before, instead of picking my mom, what I'm saying? And that's what got him killed, slipping into darkness, man. He went out that night and bang, bang, what I'm saying? It happens, man. So, it's just like, this video is basically to show that, hey, single parents, a lot of us were raised, and there's some stability, there's instability in some of our lives, man. And mine was a lot of neglection. I felt neglected, I felt abandonment, so forth. So up to this day, man, I still pray and I tell God, to help me to deal with those kind of matters and so forth, man. So a lot of times I'll go to my cousins, and we all get together, man, and they have good, good I'm gonna say answers. But what I mean, like, they lead the way, what I'm saying? They got good subjects and topics to discuss, and it's opinions, right? They got great opinions. I should even say good, my cousins, they have great opinions, and I take what I can, and then the rest, I just leave it there, what I'm saying? I don't even throw it away, because you never know when you might have to come back when somebody's opinion, you remember, what I'm saying? So, like single parents, man, we go through a lot. They go through a lot, man. They got to take, the job, and the role as, try to be both parts of, and whatever the situation is, it could be because of a divorce, it could be because of a death, and it's not always death of gang violence. People get sick, cancer, car accidents. It's just life, man. And to tell a single parent to adjust to that, man, I could imagine. I can't live. I don't think I could live without my wife and raising my daughter, even though she's going to be 18 in a couple months, and just, a part of me would leave. What I'm saying? And I would still feel like, man, what I'm saying? Like, hey, we have a daughter, she's going to get married. She's going to graduate from college. It's a big piece and a big part. And that's why, marriages are, what I mean? They're needed. What I mean? Work on your marriages, man. If I could say anything, work on the one you love. Work on your partner, man. If you guys are co-parenting, you just, make sure that the kid don't even understand that until they get to a certain age where they want to understand it. And then make sure you have a good reason too, man. I don't want you to come back and say, oh, wow, your mom was a B. You know what I'm saying? It's just like that. They don't need to know that, dog. You know what I'm saying? It's unhealthy for them, man, because now when they go out there, I don't want my daughter to think like, oh, wow, this man could, he could do this to me, he could do that to me, because my dad did that to my mom. My dad's over there beating my mom. My dad's an alcoholic, or he's a druggie, or he don't do this, or he's a pervert, or whatever the situation is, man. You know what I'm saying? You never know what was happening in the household. That's where dysfunctional homes, man, right? For a lot of us, and I hate to say it, in this part of LA, a lot of us, Chicano and in the household, man, there's a lot of hush hush. There's a lot of things was not even, like I said, they hid it from me that my dad was dead for many years. But I understand now. How are you gonna go to a 6-year-old? Your dad's dead. He died of gang violence. It would have made no sense to me. You know what I'm saying? I probably would have been more rebellious, more hateful, more this, more that, and then them showing me the love and the compassion and try to do their best in raising me, knowing that there was there was a void, there was a discrepancy in the relationship. And I can understand, and understand your single parents. And like I said, for most of us, we love our mothers because, hey, my mother raised me. She was a hard worker. She did this, she did that, and we still did the things we did, right? We still put our mothers and our fathers, through hell. We still gave, most of the time, I think for most of us, we give them a hard time unless you had a mean mom or a mean dad. And that's what's needed too, man. Sometimes you got to be tough. It could be sometimes over dramatic, what I'm saying? Because, parents, they have so much love where, you're the person I love to hate. You know what I mean? And all they know is that your mother's not around. Bam! You're going to get one in your face and your ass. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, I had neither one, to tell you the truth, man. There was a big void. Like I said, my mom was going through a mental stage, man. She was tripping, and I get it. So this is what I'm trying to get to. Until I made peace with myself, right? And then after my primo, he gave me a verse in the Bible, man. He gave me a chapter. And when I read through that chapter, man, I wasn't even I was pretty a couple of verses. I threw the Bible, man, because why? The truth hurts, man. And that's what the Bible does, man. It's a reflection of the reality and the truth. You know what I'm saying? It talks about all that, the voids and the discrepancies, the love and the hate. It was crazy. So, I took his thing like, man, you know what? He is right because it affected me. I accepted it. And then I went to my grandma and hey, this is how I feel, grandma, this and that. And she goes, yeah, you should do that. And then after, I went to my mom and I understood, man. And, I went and I told my mom, hey, man, I looked at my mom and it was emotional. It was sad in a sense because I understood why she did this, man. I understood, not only was I hurting, there was an emptiness in her. You know what I mean? Imagine, the man that she was ready to build her life with, it was her king. She was the queen and I was a prince. And to know that he could be taken in one way and she fed, and she fed, she told him, don't go make that move, man. You know what I mean? Because, and he goes, oh, don't worry, babe. Everything's going to be good. And then it was gone. So, I put myself in my mom's shoes and I was like, damn. That's the reason why my mom was doing this. That's the way she was partying. She was drinking, doing drugs. She was trying to fill that void. Alcohol. It only takes it away, so you become a continuous alcoholic because you got to keep drinking because you're gonna piss it out. You're gonna sober up. You don't want to deal with the reality. It made more sense, right? So that's why my mom was doing drugs. That's why she was smoking the weed and doing whatever else she was doing, man. Because she was hurting on the inside. You know what I'm saying? That's why, she left me and she was trying to look and trying to fill in that gap and that void. My apologies, man, if you guys hear the gardeners, man. Javier! Javier! I ain't gonna get mad at them, man. I'm saying? They're doing their job, man. But it just made a lot of sense, man, when I looked at my mom, I looked at her as a little beautiful kid herself, man. And she was able to be raised by my grandmother and my grandfather, man, so she had that experience and she probably felt like, man, I'm going to raise my son by himself. It's going to be a lot of work. And she didn't want to deal with this. She was young. My mom was 18 years old. She was a single parent and it was just handed to her. It wasn't like, hey, here, in 10 days, it's going to be given to you. No, it was just handed to her. That's just the way life is, man. Things change in a minute, instantly. Look what's happening around the world. You have parents together, man, that they're fetching and even allowing that their kids, that they're able to change their gender and so forth, man. It's just because maybe their parents didn't teach them. It goes down generational, man. A lot of us, on social media, we're talking about generations and curses and stuff like that. If you look at the Bible, that's what it talks about, man. You know what I'm saying? So guess what? Since I was a target when I was young, guess what? The chamuco, the devil, he's like, I got you. I got you. I got your mother. Your father's already dead. Now I'm after the young one. Because when we get old, man, we come out of it. We come out of most of us, especially you get to your late 30s, man, your early 40s, you already know, like, man, pretty much I'm going to make it, man. God willing me, man, we get all that, that advice, it start making sense, man, and we start understanding, and we start putting two and two together. We start putting the pieces of the puzzle, to your puzzle, I looked at my mom. And I felt like the little girl in her, man. I broke so bad, man. Like, man, Mom, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry that you had to deal with this. I'm sorry that my dad, passed away. I'm sorry that my dad didn't listen to you. I'm sorry that you had to, you did the best for me. I really, really felt bad. I broke, man. But see, it took me, my cousin, and then it transpired. You know what I'm saying? I did. My cousin talked to me some sense in me. My grandma I confirmed it. And then after I walked into it, I built enough courage to go tell my mom that I was sorry. And then after, my mom, I looked at her and I was able to understand her. I was like, she did the things she did because of what she was going through. You know what I mean? Psychologically, she was hurting. Spiritually, she was not stable. So how was she going to give to me when she couldn't even do it for herself? She wasn't going to give me drugs at a young age. My mom didn't do that. You know what I'm saying? She wasn't going to give me alcohol. You know what I mean? She didn't do that. So, a lot of us, we compromise with our kids, right? We give our kids beer when we're young. We give them drugs, or they see us do it. That's all I did. It was a reflection because my mom did it, and she did the best to try to hide it and discreet it. So, she left me at other places. So that's why I have abandonment issues. You know what I'm saying? That's why, I feel like I have neglection issues. I'm keeping it real, right? Because of what my mom did out of her feelings and out of her lack of emotions and nobody, my grandma probably didn't tell her. She just told her, hey, you know what? Take off. Just leave the kids here. You know what I'm saying? And my aunt, rest in peace, was going through the same situation too. But, my cousins, their father was alive. So, but it didn't seem like that, man. It really didn't seem like that at a young age, man. I'm telling you, I can recall from being from 4 or 5 years old, getting off a playpen, climbing over a playpen. I can remember that. I can remember one time, man, you asked my family, my uncle, right? One time I was my grandpa used to watch war movies, and the Zeppelins in World War I, and then I used to see it blowing up and bombs in war, man. I remember that when the Coliseum was hosting the Olympics in '88, I seen the freaking blimp, and I thought there was war going on, so I ran through the freaking door. I was like, the bomb. Like, if you ask my uncle or a certain part of cousins of mine, they were there that day, they were laughing, man. They'll laugh and be like, damn, D, you freaking went through that freaking door and you hid under that bed because I thought the bomb was coming. I didn't have nowhere else to run. I couldn't run to Dad because where was Dad at? Grandpa, was an old fart, watching movies, so I couldn't run to him either. I was out of fear. So, when we grow up out of fear, man, because there's an emptiness and there's a void in there. So, you're missing something. So fear comes in first and fear will grip you. And that's why a lot of us, when we grow up, it's a lot of fear. We become a certain way, we come, we exile ourselves, man, to society, and we think we can only be around a certain group, and we should be able to be accustomed to all groups. You know what I'm saying? Go where you want to go, display yourself in a professional manner and so forth. But since I was missing a dad and partially a mom, I had no stability. And that's what comes, being from a single parent. You don't know what's going on. So, I thought I'd just touch into that, man. I saw my mom, I made peace with her, but I still, even from that point, me and my mom, we worked our relationship, to where it's an understanding. And even now, like these days, it's minimal. She has her way of living. She lives with my stepfather. They have a different way of running their household and so forth. And, my brothers and sisters, everybody's different. I ain't saying it's a complete loss, but it's just, it wasn't the way it was from the beginning. And but it's more respect. I don't have no resentment toward my mom. I don't have no hate no more. I don't have no more abandonment issues. I don't have no void issues because everything came from God. If anything that my mom did the best, she led me to the God, the Holy Spirit, and Jesus Christ. And from there, I made myself and build a relationship with the Lord, and still trying to learn and still try to walk the things of God. And I don't do it perfectly, people, but those who do, let me know. So maybe you can direct me in that fashion, I guess. But shout out to all the single parents, man, fathers and mothers, doing the best thing. I think there's a lot more single parents that did more than others. For those who were raised by a single parent, man, and it wasn't, maybe had a similar story towards me, don't resent your parents or don't hate them, man. Forgive them. Put yourself in their shoes, and maybe they'll tell you why. And if the answer's not good enough, then hey, you just, you forgive them and love them anyways, because the Bible says honor your father and your mother, and you'll live a long life. Don't do it out of their discretion. Do it out of because that's who you are. I mean, you found yourself. Maybe you met your wife, and maybe you found your identity. You don't have no abandonment issues and this and that, and you're able to conduct yourself. And it takes a real man or a real daughter to go to their parents or this and that and say, hey, you know what, Mom, I understand. I understand why you did this. I understand now. I love you. I forgive you. And that's where it starts at, because a lot of times it's going to take us. It took me to go to my mom and say, hey, you know what, I understand. Back then, it was like, F you did this to me, it was your fault. All the blame was on them, man, and nobody needs to carry that kind of cross, you know what I'm saying? The blame cross, you know what I'm saying? You know, it's an ugly feeling. God, that's why God carried the cross. He died on the cross for those reasons, is to understand, right? You know, we live a long life, and you know, and we get to understand. So make yourself acceptable, make yourself presentable. You know, when you see your parents and this and that, you show them love. And those who have both parents, man, you know, you guys are blessed, man. Make sure you tell your dad and your mother, man. I'm thankful, man. You know, I know a lot of stories, even my families, man. You know, they have their mother and their father, and they're rebellious. You know, they want to do their thing, but I see it now, like, man, you know what? Thank you, Dad, for not giving up on me. Thank you, Mom, for not giving up. Imagine a single parent just telling your dad, thank you, Dad. You know, I can't tell Mom because Mom's, you know, passed. You know, like I said, it's not just gang violence. It could be, you know, cancer is real. AIDS are real. Drugs are real. You know what I'm saying? Gang banging is real. You know what I'm saying? Suicide's real. There's many, you know, discrepancies in why, we're not, you know, filled in, you know, we don't have our parents around, you know, or at least one of them. Imagine the ones that don't have parents. That's even another topic that I'm going to talk about too, because it follows my category. You know what I'm saying? Like, my mom wasn't mentally, socially there for me. You know what I mean? I just saw a minimum. My mom she went to Florida for a whole year, so she abandoned me. You know, she took off. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, man, these are the important things that I like to talk about. I think these are the things, you know, that make more sense. You know, these are the things in the relationships that I'm trying to understand and be out with all transparency with, you know, with you guys. You know, that's what separates me from the grid, to tell you the truth, man. You know, we keep it real on this one. I try to keep it real as much as I can, man. You know, when it comes to real stuff, you know, and you know, real things in life. It wasn't just me. There's millions or thousands of you that are out there who felt, you know what I mean, or you know, are walking my story, to tell you the truth, you know. But hey, I'm here to encourage you, man, to let you know that the journey is real. You know, try to fill in that void. You know, go make peace. If there's anything that I could say, one thing, man, and give you some kind of advice, man, you could take it or leave it, throw it away, or leave me alone. You know, is go make peace, man. Go ask for forgiveness, even though you didn't do it, right? That's like how Jesus did it, man. He didn't do anything. He was a perfect man, but he died for his children, right? That he calls us his children, right? You know, we're the church and his family, right? Because he knew that there's going to be many of us in the future who are going to be fatherless, motherless, and all kinds of stuff are going to happen, man. And that's keeping it real 100, man. It doesn't get any better than that, because God is real. But you know, I thank God. That's why I respect the Lord, man, because he gave his only begotten son. Whoever shall believe him shall not perish, but have everlasting life. John 3:16, right? So with that being said, man, you know, maybe I missed some things, man. Leave it in the comment. If you guys are feeling this one, man, make sure you guys like, subscribe, share it. You know what I'm saying? And leave those comments, man. You know what I'm saying? Leave those comments. I think those are the most important things that I'm looking at. Yes, the likes are important. The sharing is also visible, you know. But if anything, leave the comments, man, you know. And, man, like I said, if you guys are going through a situation like that and you guys have some insecurities or whatever it is, depression, you know, there's void, unhappiness, and, you know, leave a comment, man. Or, you know, if we could relate, leave a comment. You know what I'm saying? If you didn't experience, leave a comment. You know what I'm saying? One way or another, maybe you'll leave a comment for somebody else. Hey, big deal, I didn't experience that, but, you know, if anybody needs this, you just never know. That's what social media, it is for me this day. It's a lot of information that it provides. It could be good or bad depending on who you're rocking with, right? In all that manner. But like I said, man, shout out to my mom. I love you, Mom. You know, blessings to you, man. You know, I know my mom prays for me, even though we don't have that relation. I know her prayers, and prayers are important because we need them, especially these days. Look what they're trying to do. They're trying to break the family home. They're trying to introduce new parenting, new parents, mother, father. You know, a mother that acts like that's made by a. See, I'm confused. You know, it's just what we're living in today, right? It's your mother that has a penis, a father that has a vagina. Okay, I'll just make it there. You know, if you can make sense of that, you know, it's a little divert, right? It separates us, even that separating itself from the gay community, right? You know, you have a mother, and a father. Now look, now we got transgenders now. You know what I mean? Raising us. If that ain't gonna bring confusion, that's what I'm saying. If anything, God, man, thank God I wasn't raised. My mom wasn't a lesbian. I'm just saying me personally. You know, shout out to my LGBT community. I'm just saying for me. And thank God my mom wasn't raised by a transgender too, you know what I'm saying? Because that eliminates all more confusion that could have been brought into my life. And I would have extracted that, and then who knows what my life would have been. And I would have probably been psychologically, mentally, physically, more violationally, to tell you the truth, more distraught. So, you know, for the moms that, you know me, how they're, you know, your sons and your daughters close to you, God bless you guys. You know, for the fathers who had your sons and your daughters by yourself single-handedly, God bless you guys, man. Those who are trying to co-parent, you know, God bless you guys, man. You know, do it with diligence and excellence, man. And know that, you know, love our kids, man, so they won't be confused in today's society, man, because a lot of confusion that are out there and people need to be aware of that, you know, and that's why I came out and say, hey, man, maybe there's some single parents and they don't know how to delegate or wiggle with this. And, you know, I'm just throwing a sense of, you know what I mean, my past, you know what I mean, and my present and maybe my future. You just never know. So God bless you guys, man. Thank you guys for rocking. If you guys feel like I said, feel this video was cool, man. You know, do what you do best, man, and support your boy Big D. And I appreciate you guys, man. Love you guys. Much respect. Shout out to everybody who out there has been rocking with me. I'll give a couple shout outs, man. Shout out to C Dog. Shout out to G New Show. Shout out to Dee Dee Harrison, man. Nay, love all you beautiful people that are out there, man. You know that have, you know, been rocking with me and supporting my channel. Denise Castillo and you know all you people who you are, man. And like I said, you know, I'll get to know a lot more of you guys. You guys need comments, right? It's a relationship. And even if you guys feel like, hey, you know what, that's not true or this and that, you know what I mean? You got your, you know, you got your critics. You know, the critics that are out there, you know, but how are you going to beat that one when I'm just telling you from my life experience and the truth, you know? So tell me that. But hey, no harm, no foul, right? Nobody moves, nobody gets hurt, bam, bam. So this is the man in the hour, your boy Big D. Appreciate you guys, man. Like I said, you guys know what to do. With that being said, I'm out.